In this video you get a quick introduction to the knives I mainly use, and here why they're in my gear bag. Welcome to the Red Kettle channel. This is where you get a view under the bonnet. I'll share updates on product development and tips and tricks for efficient hunting. This is an episode of what's in my hunting gear bag, and today it's all about knives. I will add that I've always had a fascination with knives, so over time new candidates are likely to make it and some of the existing players might get some time on the bench. So here's the three knives I use on a regular basis: the Hultafors Craftsman knife, Civilware Packer, and Extrema Ratio Shrapnel OG. I'll include links in the description, and by the way, I'm not affiliated with any of these brands. I don't get any commission, and I purchased the knives for my own money. Well, two of them, more on that later. The Hultafors Craftsman's knife. What is it? This is my go-to knife for field processing deer. It's a Hultafors knife. I think, as I said, it's their Craftsman's model. It's a fixed carbon steel blade that's 2.5mm thick. How does it work, or what's special about it? Well, there's nothing really extraordinary about it. It's a knife made on traditional, tried and tested principles. If I should point to something special, it's probably the fantastic value for money. What do I like about it? Well, I like this knife because it's easy to work with all around. It's easy to grip with bloody or wet hands. It's light, it's got a Scandi grind, so it's easy to sharpen, and it gets very sharp. By the way, I'll make another video on how I sharpen my knives. What would I change? Well, I'd like the blade to be a little bit shorter, and you could probably also shorten the handle a little bit to make the whole thing a more compact package. The sheath could definitely do with an upgrade, but that would make it more expensive. And I will add that I often just carry it in a cargo pocket anyway, so the fact that the sheath is basic is not a major issue. Over to the Civilware Packer. What is it? So it's a modern take on a fieldcraft knife, one that works well for several tasks, and it comes in a well-made Kydex sheath. How does it work, or what's special about it? Well, overall, it's a well-made knife that feels good to work with. What do I like about it? Well, I like it because it's small and easy to work with, and the sheath fits on my bino harness. What would I change? Well, I like guards on knives, so I'd like to add more of a guard on this one. Not a traditional guard, that would make it a whole different knife. Just a little more curve in the finger groove. And now to the last knife on the list, the Extrema Ratio Shrapnel OG. What is it? Well, Extrema Ratio referred to this knife as a backup knife. To me, it's kind of a bushcraft knife on steroids. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, the blade is 1/4 inch thick, or 6.33mm. That's what I mean by steroids. It has a Kydex sheath with a blade tech mount, so it also works well on my bino caddy. How does it work, or what's special about it? Well, its leaf-shaped blade is short and thick, so it's like a little bulldog that can take a serious beating and dish one out too. It's also got a very characteristic look. I once had a leather maker refuse to make a sheath for it because of how aggressive it looked. What do I like about it? Well, it's solid, it's dependable, and it gets very sharp. But it's also short enough to use for more delicate tasks. It's probably my top pick for an all-round field knife, especially when combined with a folding saw. What would I change? Well, nothing. I really like this knife. My wife gave it to me when we lived in Switzerland. Well, to be exact, she gave me a similar but bigger version, thinking that was the one I've been looking for. But I changed it to this one, the one I so desired. My precious. By the way, there's also another knife in my life. A knife that I don't use, but one that's kind of defined me in many ways, and defined the way I see things, including hunting. At the time of recording, I don't have a video on that knife, but I'll add a link here when it's ready. I'll also add more videos to the playlist on what's in my gear bag. Check it out if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.